Welcome back to the shop and to the channel. Continuing on with my Black Diamond drill grinder. In the last video, if you saw it, I figured out how, or at least I need an idea of how I need to machine some parts in order to replicate what would have been here originally. And I think this is going to work. And then what I did after that was I found a piece of material in the scrap bin and used the shaper to square it up and bring it down to approximately the right size. It's a little taller than my original design was, but that's okay. I did reprint the base at that 1-inch 380 thousandths, and looks like everything's still going to fit just fine. I can still get this guard off. Not a big deal to make that a bit taller, but now I need to remove all the stuff in here that doesn't need to be in here and match that. So I took my model that I drew up in Fusion and I came up with this drawing. Now it looks a little convoluted, but when I do drawings like this, I try to pick a corner, and that's where all my dimensions come from. So I've picked this lower left-hand corner. All my dimensions will come from that, which is why this looks a little bit crowded and messy, but it helps ensure that regardless of the overall dimension of this piece, that as long as I reference that one corner, that relative to each other, everything should be where it needs to be, because that's the most important part of this piece. It does not have to be dimensionally perfect, hit height, width, etc. Just that all these holes kind of need to be, relatively accurate between them. And mostly it's these 3 mounting holes, and then on the bottom there's a couple of holes for dowel pins. So as long as those are all in the right place, which I think this is drawn correctly, then they'll fit onto the base and we'll be good to go. So I think the next thing I want to do is go ahead and put some blue Dykem on this, and I'm going to lay all this stuff out, or at least for the most part. I won't be machining to those layout lines, but it'll give me some references. I've made mistakes in the past where I laid everything out and then I trusted the DRO, which I should trust the DRO, but I misread dimensions and I dialed those dimensions in on the DRO and it didn't match my layout lines. And so I'm like, well, my layout lines must have been wrong. Well, they weren't. I misread the dimensions. I swapped a couple of digits or something. And at least if I lay this out and it looks the same as this piece, then I figure I'm probably in the ballpark. So let me go over to the bench. We'll get some blue Dykem out and start laying this out. One of these days I need to get some Dykem in spray can. Make this a little bit quicker. Use a heat gun here to kind of accelerate the drying process. Got this on low heat. Well, the other thing I want to do is put a little pip here in the lower left. That way I never, if the Dykem gets rubbed off or whatever, I never lose sight of where my reference corner is. So just a little dot there. I don't care if that's machined away or not. Just that little dot there, that gets machined away in the end, that's fine. It probably won't. I'm not sure if I'm going to round the corners like the original 3D model, but we'll see. Okay, let's get started here. Get some stuff out of my way. All right, first thing I want to measure, start going across here. First thing, 1.144. I'm just dialing this on. 1.145, close enough. This is going to be to here, so I really only need this part there. So about here, that's going to be that first corner. I guess we'll just kind of keep going across here until we get all these dimensions. I'll bring you back here, or maybe I'll time lapse this because it's going to take a little while. Okay, I think I have these laid out where it's supposed to be. A couple of goof ups, a couple lines that shouldn't be here, but that one and that one. But that's okay. Still debating, do I want to drill all of these holes first, including the through holes on the sides, before I start machining the rest of it? It kind of feels like it would be easier to drill the holes first, including the two here on the bottom for the dowel pins. Those don't go all the way through, so those have to be located from the bottom. I'm thinking at a minimum, maybe I go ahead and machine these mounting holes. The through holes on the ends, I want to ream those so I get a good fit to 1/2 of an inch, including the holes on the bottom. The reamers I need are on their way. Hopefully they'll be here soon, because I'd like to make some progress on this. But I think first I'll go ahead and get this set up in the mill vise. Go ahead and locate that lower left corner, and maybe these are going to be for some small set screws, some small 1/4 20 set screws. Trouble is, I'm thinking, okay, if I drill those holes first before I drill these holes, which will go all the way through, when the drill hits that hole there, what kind of problem is that going to create for me? Because it will go all the way through, where these will just go in to where the hole stops. So I kind of would like to drill these first. I am considering my options. Yeah, let me go ahead and get set up to drill these. Get those sized for the countersunk, or the socket head cap screws. And then I guess I'm going to have to wait for that 1/2 inch reamer. It's 502 thousandths. So I can get this drilled first. Because I do think because I got to remove this, and this. And I just think it'll be easier to drill these holes when this thing is still a square, rather than once this stuff has all been removed. Yeah, let me do that first. I'll get this set up in the mill, and we'll get these 3 mounting holes drilled. I think I'm going to wait for the reamer and then go ahead and drill the holes for the dowel pins, and then I'll come back, drill the through holes here for the wheel dressers themselves, and then I'll go ahead and drill these 2 and tap those. And then the only thing I have left then is to remove all this material. Okay, let's go over to the mill, get this set up. Got an edge finder here chucked up in the mill. I'm going to need to raise the table a bit in order to use this edge finder, I think. Of course, I'm going to have to lower it down later. Likely to fit a drill in there. But the first thing I want to do is locate this corner. This is going to be my 0, 0. That's my X0. We'll move over 100 thousandths, because that piece is 200 thousandths wide. So at 100 thousandths, right over the edge, we'll zero that. And same thing here. Find the edge and then move into 100 thousandths, and now that's my 0. Okay, that's my 0, 0. That's right over the top. Perfect. Well, first thing is we'll go ahead and spot these. So I've got a 120 degree spotting drill, which is the angle on the front. This is a little different than your typical drill, which would be 118 degrees. So it makes this a spotting drill. With it, with the angle of that drill being a little bit different, it helps a 118 degree drill find its way. So now I need to move over 2.402 inches. Like I mentioned, none of these dimensions are nominal, and it's just because my drawing is rather flexible. 2.402. Okay. Go ahead and lock the table there. And now we need to move in 421. Let's see. Does that put me in the ballpark? Yes, it does. All right. There's a little anchor loop here. All right, next hole location is going to be at 2.414. All right, 2.414. Does that look right? It does. And now I'll move over till I get to 3.640. Does that look right? It does. All right, now we need to go ahead and drill the clearance hole. All right, we're going to use a letter Q drill, which is a little tighter than I think this might call for. But I like the idea of the extra tolerance. I need to lower my table. All right, I had to move the camera in order to lower the table. So I've got a letter Q drill in here, which is a little smaller than what I think the standard would be for this size hole or for this size fastener. So we're going to see if this will work. If not, I can always enlarge it. Yeah, I think that'll work just fine. All right, now we got to move the table back to where are we at? 3.540. And now we need to go to 2.402. Well, I do not have any pilot countersink bits, so what I am going to do here is, just get a end mill that will be enough for this and use that as my countersink bit. All right, I have a 1/2 inch end mill in here, and that should be good enough. I think that should fit just fine. What I'm going to do here is turn the machine on, and then I'm going to slowly raise the table until I just start seeing the end mill start to leave a mark. I'll zero out my DRO, and then I'm going to raise it 343 thousandths according to the drawing, and that gives me the right depth for the socket. It's starting to make a little bit of a mark, maybe. There it is right there. I'm going to go ahead and release the quill. I'm going to zero the Z-axis on the DRO and bring it up now 300. Oh, well, that's not good. Why is my Z-axis not working? Oh, well, that'll do it. Well, let's start that over again. My scale for my Z-axis came disconnected from the DRO. So let me bring this back up. All right, close enough. A little bit more than I wanted, but that's okay. Now we'll zero the DRO. Now I'll bring it up to 343, right? Is that what I said? Yeah. 343 thousandths. I'll go ahead and lock the knee. Now we can go ahead and drill this countersink. Yeah, that looks good. All right. Alrighty. I'll get this end mill out of here, and I will go ahead and put in a chamfer bit. I'm going to do the same thing I did for the countersink. I'm going to raise the table until I see the chamfer just starting to make a mark. I've got the quill all the way down and locked, and then I'll keep raising the table until I get a chamfer that I like, and then that way I can raise the quill, move to the next one, and cut the chamfer, and all the chamfers should end up being identical. Fingers crossed. I'm going to zero my DRO. I just want to see how far I end up raising this. It's 10 thousandths. That's 15. Yeah, I kind of like that. I think we're going to leave it right there. Go ahead and lock the knee. Go back to the middle hole here at 3.540. No, sorry, 2.402. None of these numbers mean anything to you. I'm saying them out loud, I guess, for myself. So if I repeat them out loud and read them, then they should be the same. Now I should be able just to bring the quill down and let it bottom out. It should get a chamfer that looks the same, which it does. And now move into 421, right? trying to get these exact, otherwise that chamfer might end up off center and it'll look weird. So fingers crossed yet again. Yeah, I like it. Well, I need to flip this thing over anyway in order to do the dowel pins. So I figure while I'm going to take it out of the vise, let's see how we're doing and make sure that at least the mounting holes still fit, and looks like they do. I guess I didn't screw this up yet. Awesome. That fits in there good. I'm happy with that. Can't wait to get more of this machined out. Well, the reamers hopefully will be here tomorrow. Cross fingers that UPS doesn't lose them. So that's going to be it for tonight. For you, I'm going to be back in a couple of seconds. For me, I'm going to have to wait until tomorrow after work. I got the reamers that I was hoping I was going to be getting. Although it has been more than a day since that last video clip. It has been 5 days. And you might be able to tell from my voice that I've been not feeling so great. So I've been sick for the past week. So it is actually Saturday, March 14th, a day before this video is to be released. Actually less than 24 hours. So I don't know how much I'm going to be able to squeeze in today. But I will get this released. Obviously you're seeing this, so it definitely went up Sunday at noon. Okay, so now I've got the 3 mounting holes drilled, right? What I need to do now is there's 2 dowel pins that are used for alignment on the underside. And I want to go ahead and drill and ream those. But I need to be careful because if those are out of place even by a couple thousandths of an inch, then these likely won't line up. I'm assuming that when this was manufactured, these dowel pins were for alignment purposes. But if they're out even just a little bit, then these won't line up correctly, and then we don't have parallel or perpendicular facing for the wheel, and then everything gets all wackadoodled. So I'm going to try to at least be careful with this. I might try using some transfer punches. This would have been a heck of a lot easier to do with this machine apart, because then I would only have to deal with the weight of the base. But I'm not about to take that motor off just so I can do this. So let's see if I can't mount this using the mounting holes that are already drilled, and see if I can't lift it up enough to get some transfer punches underneath there to try to mark where these things are supposed to go. This video is going to be a joy to edit because I'm going to have to edit out all my coughing, which you just didn't hear because I edited out that chunk. Anyway, we'll get this mounted in place and see if I can't figure out a way to lift this thing up enough, hang it over the edge maybe, to where I could get a couple of transfer punches. Okay. I don't think I'm in any danger of that falling. Just trying to feel up underneath here, see if I can kind of locate where those holes, because they both go all the way through. There's one. That first one feels like it's right there. There it is there. Okay. It's a pretty nice fit here. All right, that should be one. Let's find the next one. With the mirror here, see if I can't find it this way. Okay, there it is. There we go. All right. Now we'll see how close our measurements are when I get it back over on the milling machine. Yeah, pretty close to where my anti-bozo marks were. So again, I think I'm going to go off of these punch marks though. They're going to be more accurate, at least. We'll see. We'll see. All right. I've already zeroed the corner here, so this is always going to be my starting corner. So I've got the spotting drill in here. So I need to move it over this first point. This is going to be for the 250 thousandths dowel pin. Let's see if I don't need to reposition the camera again. Probably will, because this I need to go to 2.404. Okay, that's right there. And 759. Okay, according to my design and math, that should put me right over top of that point. I'd say that's really close. What do I trust more? Do I trust the math or do I trust the punch marks? That is the question. That is off from the punch mark ever so slightly. I'm going to trust the punch marks. What I'm looking for here is when that wiggler comes down, if there's any deflection in it when it hits that center point, then I know it's not over top of it, and that looks like it's right over top of it. So according to my DRO, I'm about 25 thousandths off in the x-axis and about 13 thousandths off in the y. That's a lot considering a dowel pin. Worst case scenario, I'll only use one of the dowel pins. I would like both of them to be used, but if I can only use the one, then I'll only use the one. Oh, that ain't gonna work. First is, what is this, 17/64, I think, something like that. I do want to set a depth on this because I don't want this thing to go in any more than about 1/4 of an inch, so maybe a little bit more than that. Alright, I've got my reamer here and a collet. I took out the drill chuck. My hope is that the collet will run a little bit truer. I'm going to put the mill in back gear and run it nice and slow. And we'll slather this up with some anchor lube. I feel it bottom out like that. That should be a nice press fit into there. I do want to chamfer that. I just want to make sure there's no burrs on that, which will cause problems later. So just a quick like that. I don't know if that did that great of a job. No, I think that's dull. All I did was push it. I'm about to stone that off later. And remember never to use this countersink again. On to the next hole. I know this is not going to line up with my numbers, so I'm going to put the wiggler in right away because I'm sure this will come in handy. It's actually not that far off. And that looks good that way. Alright, we're going to call that. Alright, I need to lower the knee now so I can put the drill chuck back in. Okay, same as before, I want to only go in so deep. So I'm setting a depth stop here. And will I reach? Yes, just barely. Back into low gear. That'll be a nice press fit there too. Yeah, much nicer. Much nicer. Well, I've been going back and forth with myself on order of operations here. I need to, this has to be milled out. This has to be milled out for the actual facing arms. But I need a 1/2 inch reamed hole that goes through this whole thing. And my concern is, if I mill this out and then I try to ream that hole, am I going to have, or drill that hole, am I going to have the strength, right, the rigidity to make sure that it's straight? So what I'm thinking is I want to drill these cross holes and drill and ream them first. That way they're out of the way. I've got the full chunk of steel, behind it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this set up now in the vise vertically so I can drill and then ream this to 502 thousandths, right? Nice sliding fit. Make sure everything's nice and clean here. And I'm going to face this. I'm going to do this hole first. This is my reference corner. I just got to remember that each time. So it's going to go up against the fixed jaw. I don't think there's going to be any need for parallels here. And that should be sitting pretty square. All right, I'm going to get the edge finder and find this corner, and then I'm going to just trust my math that that's going to be in the right spot. I'll bring it back when I'm positioned over that hole. All right, I got the spindle located over where my hole needs to go. Again, I'm going to start with the 120-degree spotting drill. And of course, a little bit of anchor lube. Now I have opted to drill a pilot hole. Don't know if it's 100% necessary, but I feel better if I have some kind of a pilot hole than trying to run that 1/2 inch drill all the way down there, and it needs to go almost 3 inches deep. So I am going to set a depth stop just so I know when I've gone far enough. If I go too far, it's not a problem. So we're going to set this to go about 3.5 inches deep. Yeah, I'm hoping this doesn't deflect. I should probably start with a shorter drill. Maybe I should do that. Do I have any shorter drills? I just need to get the hole started so that the next drill will be a little straighter. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but feel a little more comfortable with the shorter length drill. Okay, so that's about 1, 2, 3 inches deep, which is plenty. All right, now switch over to the larger drill and slow the machine down a bit. Okay, we got the larger drill in here. I need to slow the machine down to about 800 RPM according to the drill calculations. I will admit this one has me a bit worried. Just want it to drill straight is all. Anchor lube will certainly help. I got to make sure I'm constantly clearing chips. Let's see, I'll go ahead and slow this down. It's about 800 RPM. I'm gonna go a little slower. Let's say 7. Let's see how this drills. Not too bad. Not too bad. Drilling the pilot hole certainly makes a big difference, I think. It's probably getting pretty close to depth. I'm sure I'll feel it. Yeah, that's it right there. All right, not too bad. Now to ream it. Put this in back gear again because we're going to run it nice and slow. This has got to go deep, so I don't think I'm going to do this in one pass. A little bit faster. All right, I'm going to have to raise the knee some because that will not go all the way down. All right, had to raise the knee because I lost a little travel there. Not lost travel, but lost some elevation without the drill chuck. And I didn't want to have this thing hanging out too far. All right, so here we go. Maybe slow this down just a little bit. I think that was the bottom, but just to be sure. Yep. I'm going to chamfer that hole. So let me get this out of here. And now raise the knee back up. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and test fit with the piece of the rod that I'm going to use for my pivots. Okay, here's a piece of the rod that I'm going to use for the pivots. This is 1/2 inch ground rod. Oh yeah, that's perfect fit. I don't want any slop in that thing at all because that's going to create, that's exactly what I want. That is going to make a nice pivot. All right, now I got to do the same thing over here, even though the hole is marked here. Let me do the same thing here and drill that about 3 inches deep. I will not bore you with that. I'll bring you back when that's done. All right, I have both pivot holes drilled and reamed and little chamfer. There's 2 more holes to drill, and they're going to be from the top down, and these are just going to be for some 1/4-20 set screws. So I want to position them centered on each bore, so I have to do these one setup at a time. So I'm going to start with inserting this piece of stock in the bore. I'll center find on it to find my y-axis, and then I know what my x distance will be, and we'll do that from the left edge here, which is, again, my reference is this corner is my reference. So I want to start everything from here. Okay, and we're going to drill and tap this for 1/4-20. So number 7 drill, and this should break through the bore, so it'll be obvious when I've gone deep enough. Okay, I just felt it break through. Quick chamfer. And now we'll load up the tap follower. I'm going to have to lower the knee here so I can fit the tap in. And some more anchor lube. All right, we're through into that bore. All right, now we'll load up the tap follower. I'm going to have to lower the knee here so I can fit the tap in. And some more anchor lube. All right. We're through into that bore. All right, 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 we're All right, I'm gonna do the same thing to this other bore over here. I'll bring you back when I'm done. Well, that's all the hole making finished for this. I'm reluctant to put these dowel pins in here because if for some reason I need to get them out, which I think I will have to take them out, it might be hard to get them out. But I have the pivot holes drilled. Those fit really nice. Got the set screw locations drilled and tapped. So I did run the reamer back down through here by hand just to clear out any burrs from the inside of that bore. The next thing to do is to go ahead and mill away the stuff that doesn't belong. But even just the few hours that I spent out here in the shop, I am whipped. Still not fully recovered from whatever hit me this week, but I'm done. I need to take a break. Hopefully in this coming week I'll be able to get some more done on this. Now, a little bit of, I guess, commentary. I'm a hobby machinist, and I'm barely a hobby machinist at that. I'm sure there are things here that I could have done differently, better, the correct way, maybe safer, I don't know, than the way that I did. And I appreciate the comments from those that know more than I do because I learn from them. There's valuable tips that I've received in the comments. But, you know, if you're going to belittle me or call me names, then I'm just going to ignore you. I mean, whatever. You do your thing, and I'll just keep being me. But, you know, just be nice. I mean, I don't know what's happened here recently, of what's wrong with, you know, people just being respectful. It's okay to disagree, but call people names and belittle them or even their chosen profession. I'm a hobbyist. I'm not part of a cult, a hobby machinist cult. I'm just a guy that really enjoys doing things with his hands. You know, I'm a software engineer by trade. I sit at a keyboard and a computer and am on meetings most of my days. So this is an outlet for me, and I really enjoy coming out here and doing this stuff. I make these videos not because I'm trying to teach anybody how to do anything. This just happens to be the stuff that happens in my shop. I like to share this with my friends and family that don't live near me anymore, because some of them are interested in some of the shenanigans that I'm doing in my shop. So these videos are as much for them as they are for anybody else. So if you learn something from my videos, great. I mean, maybe you'll learn what not to do. You know, that's just a bonus, you know. I hope you find them entertaining. Yeah, I could sit here and be boring and not say anything and just show what I'm doing, but I try to at least be a little entertaining. And again, most of this is just what I did in my shop. You know, I think Adam Savage on his channel, he says something along the lines of, this is what I did and this is what happened. You know, sometimes he gets hurt too. He's made a few mistakes where he's injured his hand. He didn't get specific in what he did, but he made a mistake on the lathe, and it actually could have ended very badly for him. Luckily, it wasn't anything permanent. So just because you have millions of followers doesn't mean you're an expert, and just because you have a couple thousand doesn't mean you're not an expert, you know. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you saw something that I should do different, you know, just be respectful in your comment, but I do welcome them. If you're not a subscriber, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. If you hit the bell icon, it tells you when the next video is coming out. If you'd like to support the channel in other ways, there's links down in the description, but you don't have to do that. Again, those extra support that I get from a few people out there, it makes it a little bit more possible for me to come out here and do these things, to be able to buy reamers, you know. So anyway, I hope you liked it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.